The night smelled like rain and heartbreak. The city lights bled gold through the tinted glass of the penthouse, reflecting off the engagement ring I should have never worn. It still sat on my finger mockingly, beautifully, a promise made by a man who was never mine to begin with. "Evan, you said I was your only Omega?" His scent still clung to the sheets, sharp, arrogant. Alpha-rich, but mixed now with something foreign, something that didn't belong to me. Someone else's pheromones. I'd known for days. The lipstick on his collar, the late meetings, the fading warmth in his voice. But I hadn't wanted to believe it. Not until tonight. When I saw them, my alpha, my fiancé, in the arms of another Omega, the one he'd once sworn he despised. My chest ached, a hollow heat blooming behind my ribs. Alphas weren't supposed to cheat during bonding season, not when their chosen Omega was still unclaimed. It was more than betrayal, it was humiliation. So I left. I didn't pack a bag, didn't take the ring off. Just walked into the storm, barefoot and broken. The rain soaked through my clothes, was cooling the fever in my blood. And that's when the car stopped beside me. A sleek black car. Engine purring low, like a predator that had found something fragile to play with. The window rolled down, and behind it, eyes as cold as steel and rain, Leon Valen, the CEO of Valen Corp. The man my fiancé hated most, and the alpha who had destroyed his career once before. "Leon, get in, Evan." My breath hitched. He shouldn't have known my name, but of course he did. Leon Valen always knew everything. "Evan, why are you here?" "Leon, because he doesn't deserve you. And because I've been waiting for this moment." The car door opened with a quiet click, an invitation or a trap. I looked at him, tall, perfect suit. That unmistakable alpha scent that prickled my instincts. But beneath it, something else, danger wrapped in restraint. Evan, maybe it was madness. Or maybe it was fate. But that night, the Omega he pitied climbed into the car of the alpha who hated his fiancée, and the world changed. The hum of the car was the only sound between us. I kept my eyes on the window, watching the raindrops race each other down the glass. Leon didn't speak again after telling me to get in. He didn't need to. His presence filled the space like gravity, heavy and impossible to ignore. I could feel his eyes on me, steady and unreadable. Every alpha had a certain aura, but Leon's was different, controlled, dangerous, the kind that made other alphas lower their gaze without being told. "Where are we going?" I finally asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Somewhere dry," he replied simply. That was all. No comfort, no warmth. Just words cold enough to match the man himself. The drive was short, but tense. When the car finally stopped, I realized we were in front of one of the most exclusive high-rise towers in the city. I'd seen it before, Valencorp's private residence complex. I never thought I'd step inside it. Leon got out first and opened the door for me. The rain had softened into a mist, but I was already soaked, trembling from more than just the cold. I hesitated. "I can find my own way," I said quietly. He looked at me, then really looked. His eyes lingered on the ring still on my finger. Something flickered in his expression, not pity, not sympathy. Something darker. "Not tonight, Evan," he said. "You're coming with me." I followed him inside. The elevator ride was silent, except for the faint hum of machinery. His scent filled the small space clean, crisp and alpha through and through. I hated that it calmed me. When the doors opened, I stepped into a world of glass, marble, and cold perfection. His penthouse was exactly what I expected. Minimal, expensive, and spotless. Like the man himself, he took off his jacket and draped it over the couch, then turned to me. "You should change." "You're shivering." "I'll be fine," I murmured. He raised a brow. "You're an unclaimed Omega in the middle of bonding season. You won't be fine." His words cut through me, sharp and factual. He was right, but hearing it from him hurt in a different way. "I don't want your help," I whispered. "You hate him. You hate everything connected to him. That includes me." Leon didn't respond at first. Then he stepped closer. Close enough for me to feel the heat of his body, the power rolling off him in slow, steady waves. "I hate him," he said quietly. But you're not him? I froze. His voice had softened, just barely, but it was enough to make my chest tighten. Why are you doing this? I asked, staring up at him. What do you want from me? Leon's eyes searched mine for a long moment before he finally spoke. Revenge, he said. At first, I repeated. His lips curved slightly, not a smile, but close enough to send a chill down my spine. Things change, he said. He turned away before I could reply and disappeared into another room, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the steady beating of my heart that refused to calm down. I stood there, drenched, exhausted, and confused. I should have felt safe. Instead, I felt trapped in a storm that had only just begun. Maybe I should have run. But I didn't, because part of me already knew. Leon Valen wasn't saving me out of kindness. He was claiming me out of something far more dangerous. Morning came too early. The sunlight filtered through the tall glass windows, cutting across the marble floor in golden lines. For a few seconds, I forgot where I was. The bed was too soft, the room too quiet. Then the scent hit me strong. Unmistakably alpha, and definitely not mine. Leon Valen. I sat up quickly, my head spinning from the sudden motion. My clothes had been changed. Someone must have done it while I was half asleep. My heart raced, embarrassment crawling up my neck. But when I looked around, I found a note on the bedside table. Kitchen. Eat something. His handwriting was clean, controlled, almost intimidating in its precision. I hesitated for a long time before finally walking out. The penthouse looked even more perfect in daylight, everything in sharp order, not a single thing out of place. It was the kind of space that made you feel like you didn't belong unless you were flawless too. Leon was sitting by the large window, dressed in a dark shirt, sleeves rolled up just enough to reveal strong forearms. He looked like someone who never slept, but never needed to. His eyes shifted to me as soon as I appeared. You should eat, he said. I'm not hungry, I replied. That's a lie, I sighed. Why do you even care? You got what you wanted. You picked up your rival's broken Omega. Congratulations. He leaned back in his chair, studying me quietly. You think I helped you because of him? Didn't you? I asked bitterly. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he gestured toward the chair across from him. Sit. I didn't move. Evan, he said, tone calm but firm, the kind that made your instincts obey before your mind could argue. Reluctantly, I sat down. I don't like wasting words, he said, so I'll be direct. I'm offering you a deal. A deal, I repeated. He nodded. You stay here. I'll make sure your ex never touches you again, never even breathes your name. In return, you'll play your part. My part? I frowned. What are you talking about? His lips curved slightly, but there was no warmth in it. I have a business arrangement coming up, a merger. Having an Omega by my side one he hates will make it easier to finalize. So I'm just a prop to you, I said quietly. Leon's eyes softened for a brief moment. You're not a prop, Evan. You're a reminder of what? Of how easily loyalty can be broken, he said, and how quickly it can be rebuilt in the right hands. I felt my chest tighten. His words were cold, but the way he said them steady. Certain made something deep inside me tremble. I'm not sure I can be what you need. I whispered. You already are, he said simply. You just don't see it yet. He stood up and walked toward the window, his back to me. The morning light outlined his sharp silhouette. The kind of presence that could command a room without a single word. Think about it, he said. You can leave, and he'll come crawling back. Or you can stay and let me make him regret everything. My throat went dry. And what happens if I say yes? Leon turned his head slightly, his gaze catching mine. Then you stop being his Omega, and you become mine. The words hung in the air, like a promise hand, a warning. I didn't answer. I couldn't. My heart was pounding too loud, my mind too full of memories I wanted to erase. But even then, deep down, I knew I was already leaning toward the danger. Toward him. Because nothing burns brighter then revenge and the hands that offer it. I didn't sleep that night. Leon's words echoed in my head over and over again. Then you stop being his omega, and you become mine. It should have scared me. It did, but fear wasn't the only thing twisting in my chest. There was something else too, something reckless and raw that I didn't want to name. By morning, I'd made my decision. When I walked into his study, Leon was already there. The room smelled faintly of coffee and cedarwood, like calm danger. Papers were neatly arranged across his desk, and he was signing something with his usual precision. Without looking up, he said, "You've decided." "Yes." My voice was steady. Though my heart wasn't, "I'll stay." He looked up then, eyes sharp and unreadable. "You're sure?" I nodded. "You said you'd protect me. I'm taking you at your word." For a moment, neither of us spoke. The air between us felt heavy, charged. Then Leon slid a folder toward me. "This is the agreement." Read it. I opened it. The first page was filled with legal terms and professional boundaries. It beneath the business language. It was clear he wasn't just claiming me for convenience. Every clause was built to shield me, to keep my ex away. "You went this far just to make him angry?" I asked quietly. Leon's mouth curved faintly. "Anger is a useful weapon, when you know how to aim it." I signed the paper. My hands trembled as I wrote my name, but I didn't stop. When it was done, I pushed the folder back across the table. Leon leaned forward, his eyes locked on mine. "Then from this moment, you belong to me." His words rolled through me like thunder, not gentle, not kind, but steady and final. I felt the bond hum faintly between us. Not a true claim, but something dangerously close. "I don't belong to anyone," I murmured. He stood, walked around the desk, and stopped in front of me. His presence filled the space, and his scent darker. Deeper now, pulled at something inside me I didn't want to feel. "Not yet," he said softly. "But you will." I swallowed hard, forcing myself to meet his eyes. "You think you can fix what he broke?" "No," Leon replied. "I can make you forget it." The way he said it made me shiver. His tone wasn't a promise, it was a challenge. He handed me a card. "Your new access pass. My staff will treat you as my partner. You'll attend meetings, events, whatever I decide. If anyone asks, we're together. So this is my life now?" I asked. Leon studied me for a moment. "You make it sound like a prison, isn't it?" I whispered. He smiled, just a little. "Only if you try to escape." For the rest of the day, I followed his lead. His world was made of glass walls, crisp suits, and cold precision. Every time he spoke to someone, people listened. Every glance, every step carried authority. And yet, when his eyes met mine across the conference table later that day, something in them softened. Just for a second, just enough to make me doubt everything. That night, as I stood on the balcony of his penthouse, the city lights stretching below, I realized the truth. Leon Valen wasn't saving me. He was rewriting me, and the worst part was, I was letting him. The first week in Leon's world felt unreal. Everything was quiet, orderly, and controlled. His penthouse was like him, flawless on the surface, but filled with tension underneath. Every morning, he'd leave early, always in a dark suit that matched his eyes. Every evening, he'd come back late, smelling faintly of rain, coffee, and dominance. I told myself I was only here for safety. But each night, my excuses felt thinner. One evening, I heard his voice through the door of his study. Cold, steady, commanding. I said, "Pull the deal if they don't agree to my terms." A pause, then softer, lower. I don't repeat myself. The call ended with silence. When he stepped out and saw me standing there, his eyes softened. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. "Couldn't stop thinking," I said quietly, "about him." I shook my head. "About you." That made him pause. He looked at me, really looked at me. The way a predator studies something, it isn't sure whether to hunt or protect. "I told you," he said finally. "Don't look at me like that unless you're ready to handle what happens next." "I'm not afraid of you," I whispered. He took a slow step closer, then another, until his scent filled my lungs. My omega instincts reacted before my mind did. Heartbeat quick, breath shallow, body trembling between fear and something else. You should be, he murmured. I tried to look away, but his hand came up, brushing my chin lightly, forcing my gaze back to him. His touch was barely there, but it burned. You're shaking, he said. Because you're too close, I breathed. Then tell me to stop. I couldn't. My throat locked. My body betrayed me, leaning just a little closer instead. He exhaled, long and slow. You don't know what you're doing to me, do you? I think I do, I whispered. Something in him snapped. Not violently, not cruelly, just enough that the mask of control cracked. His eyes darkened, his scent sharpened. Ash! And the air between us grew heavy with alpha energy. For a moment, I felt the bond hump, faint, but real, like static in my blood. My instincts screamed to move closer, to let him claim what wasn't his. Then, just as quickly, he stepped back. The connection broke like a thread snapping. Go to bed, Evan, he said, his voice rougher than before. Before I forget why I promised myself not to touch you, I stared at him, chest rising and falling too fast. You're not as cold as you pretend to be. He gave a small, humorless smile. You don't know what I am. I turned and walked away before he could see the confusion on my face. Inside, my heart was still racing. Back in my room, I touched my neck. It wasn't marked, but I could still feel the ghost of his presence there. The place where his power had brushed my skin. I lay awake for a long time, listening to the sound of his footsteps moving somewhere down the hall, and when the lights finally dimmed, I realized something I didn't want to admit. Leon Valen hadn't claimed me yet, but a part of me already belonged to him. 2 weeks had passed since I signed Leon's contract. 2 weeks of silence, glances, and tension thick enough to choke on. He hadn't touched me again since that night, but sometimes when he looked at me, I could feel it, the restraint, the danger sitting just beneath his calm surface. I told myself I was getting used to his world, the quiet luxury, the rules, the way everything seemed to bend to his command. But then one morning, his assistant brought in an envelope and placed it on the breakfast table. Inside was a sleek black card with gold lettering. You'll wear this, Leon said from across the table. Tonight. What's tonight? I asked. He looked up from his tablet, eyes unreadable. The Valencorp annual gala. You're coming with me. My heart skipped. Why me? Because I said you would. I wanted to argue, but his tone left no room for it. I'd seen how he was at work, cold, untouchable, feared by everyone who dared to speak against him. To the world, he was power-wrapped in a perfect suit. And tonight, I was going to stand beside him. By evening, Taylor had delivered a suit that fit perfectly to perfectly, as if Leon had known my size before I did. The color was deep midnight blue, almost black, and when I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized the person staring back. When Leon saw me, he paused for the smallest fraction of a second. His gaze swept over me slowly, his expression still stoic, but his pupils just a little darker than before. You look presentable, he said quietly. Thank you, I replied. Trying not to blush, the car ride to the gala was silent, except for the faint hum of music. Outside the tinted windows, camera flashes were already waiting. My pulse quickened. When we arrived, Leon stepped out first, then turned to offer his hand. The gesture was simple, polite, but when my fingers touched his, something electric shot through me. His grip was firm, steady, protective. As we walked down the red carpet together, the flashes exploded like lightning. I could hear reporters shouting his name. Then one voice cut through the noise. Leon Valen, is that your partner? Leon didn't hesitate. Yes, he said smoothly, his tone like silk and command blended together. This is Evan. The crowd reacted instantly. Questions, whispers, photos. I tried to keep my composure, but my heart was pounding too hard. Inside, the ballroom glittered with gold and glass. Music floated through the air and everyone turned when Leon entered. He had that kind of presence like gravity itself shifted when he moved. I stayed close to him, silent, trying not to drown in the stares. I could feel eyes on us, especially from one corner of the room. When I turned, a breath caught. My ex-fiancé was there. His eyes widened when he saw me standing beside Leon. Shock, then anger, then something that looked almost like fear. He started to walk toward us, but Leon's hand brushed lightly against the small of my back, a warning. A reminder. Stay calm, Leon murmured under his breath. Let him come. When my ex finally reached us, his voice trembled. Evan, what are you doing here? Leon answered for me. He's where he belongs. The tension in that moment was so sharp it almost hurt to breathe. My ex's scent flared angry, possessive, but Leon's presence smothered it instantly. I thought you'd given up on him, my ex said coldly. Leon smiled, slow and deliberate. You were wrong. I never give up on something worth having. People around us were watching, whispering. My ex's jaw clenched. You're using him, Leon's voice dropped lower. Maybe, but tell me who used him first. My ex had no answer. He turned away, fists tight, scent bitter with defeat. Leon leaned close to my ear, his words barely a whisper. That's what revenge looks like, Evan. Clean, quiet, final. I looked at him, my chest tight. And what happens now? He glanced down at me, his expression softening for the first time all night. Now, he said, we dance. And when he led me to the floor, his hand firm against my back, the world around us blurred. Cameras, whispers, lights, none of it mattered, because for the first time, standing in the shadow of the man my ex feared most, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt chosen. The ride back from the gala was quiet, but not peaceful. My chest was still tight from everything that happened. My ex's face, his anger, his disbelief, it all kept replaying in my mind. But more than that, I couldn't stop thinking about Leon, the way he'd stood beside me, the way he'd said he's where he belongs. The city lights flashed across his face as we drove through the night. He looked calm, almost cold again, but I could feel the tension coming off him. Something inside him was shifting, and I wasn't sure if that was good or terrifying. Finally, I spoke. You didn't have to do that. Leon didn't look at me. Do what? Confront him like that. Say those things. I told the truth, he said simply. The truth. I laughed quietly, but there was no humor in it. You don't even know me. His eyes flicked toward me then, sharp and steady. I know enough. We didn't speak again until we reached the penthouse. The moment the door closed behind us, the quiet became heavier. The kind of silence that hums with things that shouldn't be said out loud. Leon walked past me and poured himself a drink. You handled yourself well tonight. Is that supposed to be a compliment? It's an observation. He took a sip, then set the glass down. You didn't run. That's something. I wanted to, I admitted. He turned to me, leaning against the counter. But you didn't. That's what matters. I looked at him, trying to read what was going on behind those cold eyes. Why do you care so much about proving something to him? Leon's expression hardened. Because he took something from me once. And tonight I took something back. I shook my head slowly. You're using me as part of your revenge, Leon. Don't pretend it's more than that. He stepped closer, his voice lower now. You think I don't know what I'm doing? You think I can't tell the difference between revenge and something else? Something else? I asked quietly. For a moment, he didn't answer. Then, with a tone softer than I'd ever heard from him, he said, You make me remember what control costs. The words made me freeze. Leon Valen didn't do confessions. But right now, he wasn't the ruthless CEO everyone feared. He was just a man standing too close, trying too hard not to touch me. I swallowed hard. You should get some sleep, I said, though my voice shook. So should you. He replied. I turned to leave, but his hand caught my wrist, not rough, just enough to stop me. His touch was warm, his scent surrounding me instantly. Evan. His voice was low, almost a growl. You don't have to keep pretending you don't feel this. I faced him slowly. And what if I do? His jaw tightened. Then I'll have to decide whether to let it happen, or destroy it before it does. We stood there, inches apart, the air between us burning with something that neither of us could name. My heart pounded against my ribs, every instinct screaming to move closer, to close the distance. But I didn't, because deep down I knew once that line was crossed, there would be no going back. Leon released my wrist slowly, his expression unreadable again. "Good night, Evan." I nodded and walked away, but my legs felt weak. My wrist still tingled where he'd touched me, and my heart wouldn't stop racing. When I finally lay down in my bed, I realized something that scared me more than his power, more than my ex. More than anything else, I wasn't afraid of Leon anymore. I was afraid of how much I wanted him. Sleep didn't come easily that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him, Leon. The way his hand had gripped my wrist, the look in his eyes when he said my name. I told myself it was just instinct, that any Omega would react to an alpha like him. But deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. The next morning, the apartment was quiet. Leon wasn't there. His absence should have felt like relief, but it didn't. It felt like a weight pressing on my chest. I went to the kitchen, made coffee I didn't really want, and tried to convince myself that nothing had changed, but everything had. I found a note on the counter. Written in that same clean handwriting, meeting downtown. "Stay in today. Rest." I read it twice, then crumpled it. He was trying to protect me again, control me again, and I didn't know whether to be angry or grateful. Hours passed. I tried reading, but the words blurred. The walls felt too big, too silent. By late afternoon, I couldn't take it anymore. I stepped out onto the balcony, the city wind cutting against my skin. That's when I saw him returning. Leon's car pulled up below, black and perfect as always. He got out, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, his usual precision dulled by exhaustion. He looked different, tired, human. When he came inside, his eyes met mine immediately. "You didn't rest," he said. "You didn't either," I answered. He didn't deny it. Instead, he walked past me, loosening his tie, pouring himself a drink like someone who'd spent the whole day fighting invisible wars. "Rough meeting?" I asked. "You could say that," he replied quietly. "People think power solves everything. It doesn't." For the first time, his voice sounded tired, almost defeated. I'd never heard him like that. Without thinking, I said softly, "You don't always have to be strong, Leon." He looked at me like I'd said something dangerous. "Yes, I do." "Why?" "Because if I stop, I'll fall. And I don't know how to get back up." The honesty in his words hit harder than I expected. I took a hesitant step closer. "You're not alone," he gave a short, humorless laugh. "Aren't I?" Before I could respond, a sharp pain hit me suddenly, heat blooming under my skin. My breath hitched. The air thickened. My scent spiked. Leon froze. His pupils dilated instantly. "Evan, you're going into preheat." I staggered back, clutching the counter. "No, it's too early." He exhaled slowly, forcing his voice to stay calm. "Your body's reacting. The stress, the scent, exposure, Leon, I can handle it," I said through gritted teeth. He stepped forward, every inch the alpha now, scent flooding the room. "No, you can't. Not alone." "I don't want your help," I whispered, though my body trembled, betraying me. "You need it," he said, voice low, rough around the edges. "But I can touch you." "Not unless you ask." Now, the restraint in his tone made my heart ache. He could have taken control, could have claimed me right there, but he didn't. He was fighting himself, every instinct, every drive to give me the choice. I met his gaze, my breath uneven. "Why are you doing this?" "Because if I lose control with you," he said quietly, "I won't stop." For a moment, neither of us moved. The air between us burned, heavy and alive. His scent wrapped around me like heat and safety and danger all at once. Then he turned away, fists clenched. "Go to your room. Lock the door. I'll call the medic." I wanted to argue, to tell him to stay, but I couldn't find the words. My body was too weak, my instincts too loud as I walked away. I heard him whisper to himself, voice barely audible, "What are you doing to me, Evan?" That night I lay in bed, sweat cooling on my skin, heart pounding from the mix of pain and longing. He hadn't touched me, but somehow, he was still everywhere. His scent lingered in my lungs, his voice in my head, and as the fever pulsed through me, one truth became clear. This wasn't just heat. It was something far more dangerous. It was the beginning of wanting him in ways I couldn't undo. The night stretched on like an eternity. The fever inside me grew hotter, crawling through my veins, setting every nerve on fire. My body was trembling, my breath shallow, the sheets clinging to sweat-damp skin. Every omega instinct screamed for one thing for him. Leon, his scent lingered everywhere. In the air, on my clothes, in my thoughts. I tried to fight it, to stay still, to stay sane, but the ache only deepened. My body didn't care about pride or pain or logic. It only cared about the alpha I'd been trying so hard to resist. When I couldn't take it anymore, I stumbled out of bed. My legs felt weak, my heart beat wild. I opened the door before I could stop myself. The penthouse was dimly lit, quiet except for the faint hum of rain outside. Leon was sitting on the couch, head in his hands. He looked like a man losing a battle no one else could see. His jacket was gone, his shirt unbuttoned just enough to reveal the rise and fall of his chest. He looked up the second he heard me. "Evan," said sharply, "you shouldn't be out here. Can't—" I tried to speak, but my voice broke. "I can't breathe," stood instantly, every muscle tense. "Go back to your room." I tried. "It's worse when I'm alone." He closed his eyes for a moment, like he was praying for control. "You don't understand what you're asking." "I'm not asking for anything," I said, though my voice trembled. "I just can't be by myself right now," he exhaled slowly. The sound came out rough, almost like a growl. He took a careful step toward me, stopping a few feet away. "You're burning up," he said softly. "You need suppressants. The medic is on the way." Shook my head. "It's too late for that." "You know it is?" His jaw tightened. "Evan, just stay here," I whispered. "Please." For a long time he didn't move. Then, finally, he sat back down, motioning for me to do the same. I sank onto the couch beside him, shivering even though the air was warm. The scent coming off him was strong, no restrained, controlled, but undeniably alpha. It wrapped around me, grounding me even as it fed the fire inside. He looked at me out of the corner of his eye. "You're fighting it well." "I don't want to lose myself," I said. "Not again." "You won't," he said quietly. "Not while I'm here." I laughed weakly. That's exactly what makes it harder. For the first time since I'd met him, Leon's expression softened completely. He looked at me like he was seeing someone he shouldn't care about, but already did. His hand lifted, slow and hesitant, brushing the back of my neck. The touch was light, barely there, but it sent shivers down my spine. My pulse jumped. "Leon," I breathed. He froze, his hand still resting against my skin. His control was slipping. I could feel it in the tremor of his fingers, the deep, uneven rhythm of his breathing. Then he pulled back suddenly, standing to put distance between us. "I can't," he said, voice low and rough. "If I touch you again, I won't stop." "You're already not stopping," I whispered. He looked at me, eyes dark with something raw and dangerous. "I'm trying to protect you, Evan. Even from me." For a long time, neither of us said anything. The silence was heavy, full of the things we couldn't admit. I could hear the rain outside, the thunder far away, the rhythm of his heartbeat matching mine. Finally, I said quietly, "You don't have to protect me from you." He stared at me. And in that moment, all the walls he'd built began to crack. "I do," he said. "Because if I don't, I'll claim you for real." My breath caught. He turned away before I could respond and walked toward his room, his voice low as thunder when he spoke again. "Stay here. Don't follow me, please." Then he was gone. I sat there, shaking, trying to steady my breathing. My skin still burned where his hand had touched me, my heart still beating too fast, and for the first time, I wasn't sure whether the fire inside me was just the fever, anymore something far more dangerous. Because Leon Valen had just confessed the truth in his own way. He wasn't just fighting his instincts, he was fighting his feelings. I didn't know how long I sat there after Leon left. The rain kept falling outside, steady and endless, like the world was trying to wash everything clean. But nothing inside me felt clean. Everything burned. I should have gone back to my room. I should have locked the door like he told me to. But I couldn't move. Every part of me was aching for him, the warmth of his hand, the sound of his voice, even his silence. It was unbearable. When I finally heard footsteps again, I thought I was imagining them. Then Leon appeared in the doorway. His shirt was damp, hair slightly messy, eyes darker than I'd ever seen them. "I told you to stay in your room," he said quietly. I couldn't. Exhaled through his nose, slow and heavy. "You don't make this easy, do you?" I tried to smile, but it came out weak. "You're the one who keeps saving me, 'cause you keep walking into the fire," he said. The air between us was electric again, its same invisible pull drawing me closer even when I tried to resist. He was trying to hold himself together. I could see it in the way his jaw tightened, in the faint tremor of his hands. Then suddenly he moved. One moment there was distance, and the next his hand was on my arm. His other braced against the wall beside my head. His scent hit me full force, sharp, overwhelming. My body responded instantly. My pulse stuttered, breath catching in my throat. "Leon." He looked down at me, eyes burning like something barely restrained. "Do you have any idea what you're doing to me?" I swallowed hard. "Maybe the same thing you're doing to me." Sound escaped him, half a growl, half a breath. He leaned in closer, so close that I could feel the heat from his skin. The faint tremor in his control. For one heartbeat, I thought he'd finally give in. His lips hovered a whisper away from mine, his breath ragged, his control hanging by a thread. Then he pulled away. He stepped back so fast it made my heart jolt. He turned his back to me, both hands gripping the edge of the counter like he was holding himself up by sheer force of will. "Damn it," he whispered under his breath. "You don't understand." "I can't." I blinked, confused. "Can't what?" He turned to face me, and the emotion in his eyes nearly knocked the breath out of me. It wasn't anger. It wasn't coldness. It was something raw. "If I touch you now, I'll mark you. And if I mark you, you'll never be free again." The silence that followed felt endless. My throat felt tight. "Maybe I don't want to be free," I said softly. Leon's expression broke. Then just for a second. "Don't say that." "Why not?" "Because I'm not the man you think I am." He took a step closer, slow and deliberate. "You see control. You see power. But underneath that, I'm barely holding myself together." I could hear the pain in his voice. The truth, he'd never let anyone else hear. He took another step, close enough for me to see the faint red mark on his neck, like stress, or guilt, or both. "Leon," I whispered, "you don't have to be perfect all the time." He gave a short, bitter laugh. "Perfection is the only thing that keeps me from breaking." I reached out before I could stop myself and touched his wrist. His pulse was racing beneath my fingers. He didn't pull away this time. For a few seconds, we just stood there, breathing the same air, both of us trembling for different reasons. Then slowly, he lifted his hand and brushed his thumb across my cheek. "You don't know how dangerous this is," he murmured. "Then show me," I said. He froze. And then, to my surprise, he smiled, a small, sad smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Not tonight." He stepped back, the distance between us returning like a wall. "I'll have the suppressants delivered in the morning. You'll feel better soon." "Is that an order?" I asked quietly. "It's a promise." When he walked away this time, I didn't stop him. I watched his back until he disappeared down the hall, the sound of his footsteps fading into silence, and for the first time, I realized something. Leon wasn't cold because he didn't feel. He was cold because he felt too much, and he was terrified of what would happen if he let it all out. That night, lying alone again, I whispered into the dark, "Leon, what are you so afraid of?" But there was no answer. Only the faint echo of my own heartbeat and the memory of the man who had nearly lost control for me.